Hey YouTube, Magnum Prime here, and today we're taking a look at MMC's Probus, which is their masterpiece take on Brawl of Combaticon fame. If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Okay, here we go. In terms of accessories, we get a blaster, which is very simple, very G1 tune looking, in line with the other releases in the Assaultus set. Mine is actually it's actually bent. It's got a bit of a QC issue, so that's not great. There's also a couple of little sprue marks down there. The blaster does tab into the palm with a rear palm tab technique that we've seen on a couple of the other releases. It's really secure and will just hold there without any issues. We also get these little aerials which fit on the back of the tank, and these are unfortunately bent as well, so they were kind of squished up in the packet. I mean, they're soft plastic, obviously if they were hard they kind of make them brittle and prone to snapping, so they made them soft plastic, but they packed them up really tightly with a load of sellotape around them and it bent them in the package. And then finally we get the turret guns, or rear turret blasters, which kind of snug into these or tap into these ports at the back. They're quite chunky, quite thick. Again, they've got a very simplistic G1 tune look. They look good actually, they're nicely done. There's a little bit of paint here on the side, and overall they look pretty cool. So these will tab into the back of the tank, but it doesn't particularly sit very snugly. They do knock off quite easily. I mean, they're fine, they won't wobble out or anything, but yeah, it's not super secure. And we also get an additional ratchet for incursors. This will allow blast off to hold in a more secure fashion in combined mode. I'll do a video on that one. And we get a bonus Frodo head with the corrected nose coloration. So I'm going to swap these over. He's got a slightly different expression as well. So nice touch that they've included that. So the head's on a ball, but it doesn't really have much of a look up. It does have a decent look down, and it does swivel all the way around. The shoulders are on universals and will obviously rotate all the way around. They will go out to the side this far, but then MMC have actually put an extra joint inside the arm which will allow a full outwards extension, which I think is a brilliant touch, because quite often if you get a transformer with a large shoulder piece like this, it does block that articulation. So it's a really nice touch that they've put that in there. The elbows from the front are on a 90 degree. They will come out to here, but then if you swivel on the bicep, you will actually be able to extend them further using the secondary joint there. The wrists are on a swivel, and the hands have got individually articulated fingers, but they are that awful claw-like formation that quite a lot of Masterpiece Transformers have, unfortunately. The thumbs are on a ball peg as well. Down at the waist, if you've got the turret extended outwards on this mechanism here, then you can rotate the waist full 360 all the way around, no problems. And also you get a full ab crunch. That works with the turret in both settings, so that's fine. The hips have got individual skirts, front and back, and will allow a full extension out to the front on a ratchet, and will allow a little bit to the back. It is blocked by the turret, but to be fair, I don't think much could be done about that. And to be honest, I'd prefer that they didn't mess around with the turret and they left that intact, rather than try and transform it away just for that leg movement out to the back. You've got a full extension out to the side as well. The knees, again, you can actually maneuver these more than 90 degrees. There's a couple of little joints in here, but out to the back it is blocked by the kibble of the tracks and the turret as well. Down at the feet, you've got a little bit of a rocker, not much, but it is enough to do the things that you need to do, I think. You don't have any upwards total, which is a bit annoying. It does maneuver this way, but that's just mostly a transformation kind of joint. It's a transformation maneuver, so it doesn't really do much for posing. You can manipulate this stuff around at the back as well. A couple of little hinges in there that you can maneuver things for stability. So overall, I think the posability on this figure is good. It's got all the important bits in the right places, and there are a couple of nice touches there that kind of offset some of the clunkiness and chunkiness of the figure. So I think it's quite good actually, but not perfect. 8 out of 10. So here he is next to MP36, and unfortunately I haven't got a Starscream or a Shockwave to show you, but I think he's probably a smidge taller than those. Both of those figures are just shy of the top of Megatron's chest plate, whereas he's a little bit taller than it, so he will be slightly taller. I don't think it'll look massively out of place though. I think this is roughly in line with where it should be. It's not bang on, it's not perfect, but it definitely works and it definitely looks good. So I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. And here he is next to 3 of his teammates at least. Unfortunately, Incursus is still packed up in storage, so that's kind of frustrating. But I will get him back this week and do a review of the full set, the combined mode, which I'm really looking forward to putting together. Can't wait. But you can see he looks absolutely brilliant next to these. They've all got the same kind of aesthetic. They've got that toon look. I think they look great together. They've got very similar kind of build to them and overall quality as well. They just look great, and I love that they've got the height differential in there, and yet these will combine to make similarly sized, similar proportioned limbs. It's brilliant. It's a really good set. Anyway, this looks fantastic to me at any rate. In terms of paint, there isn't much, but what we have is an orange metallic for the visor and the stripes across the head, brown burgundy kind of effect for the faceplate, couple of yellow accents, silver accent, and then some grey bits down here and some detaily bits. These are more from alt mode than anything, and that's it. The rest of it is just green plastic with a couple of detailed sculpty bits to break it up, break the look, and make it not just an homogeneous lump. But you know what? Overall, it looks fantastic, and they've nailed it without having to cover it in paint, which I think is a real credit to them. And you know, the one thing about this is that if you transform this and pose it and muck around with it and do all sorts with it, it will still look this good and highly finished in, you know, years to come. It's not going to suffer from paint chip. Now I know people would prefer paint in some cases, and some people would prefer a more kind of painted aesthetic, but what you can't argue with is the quality of the finish, because they have executed this really, really well. In terms of sculpt, I think they've nailed the G1 toon look of Brawl. This, I think, it's a really, really good job in that respect. And as I said, other sculpted bits, you've got detail that just break up some of what otherwise would be just smooth green, homogeneous looking bits, and it kind of breaks it up a little bit. Build-wise, he's very good. There's not much in the way of ratchets. Like I said, there's just the kind of hip ratchets down here. I would have preferred knee ratchets. That's not because these are loose or anything like that. I just think knees are a good place to put ratchets in general. But overall, everything feels super solid, and really, I don't think this is going to suffer from floppiness, would be my instinct over time. But, you know, only time will tell in that respect, won't it? Certainly very well put together. He's got a decent heft. He's not as hefty as he looks. I'm surprised actually, but he has got a good feel to him. Cleanup wise, he looks very clean from the front. He looks very clean from the side. There is the obvious turret, but that's part of the character. We can't be critical there. And he looks very clean from the back, but it is mostly dominated by this. Now, I'm glad they haven't mucked around with this to try and minimize it or make it smaller for the look or the aesthetic, or even, you know, the clearance with the back of the legs that I mentioned before, because that would have broken, I think, the alt mode, which we'll come on to, but potentially the leg mode as well. You know, I can live with this certainly, because, you know, really this is the angle that you're looking at the bot from in bot mode. So I think that's fine. If we bring in the G1 toon, I think this is where I'd be a bit more critical of the kind of coloration. So the color is really, really good and it looks superb. It's not really there in terms of the G1 toon. I think it could have been a bit more khaki. It's more in line actually with the G1 toy. It's closer to that kind of green. But again, it's not bang on to that. So it's sort of somewhere in between for me. It looks fantastic though, definitely. And also, I mean, you'll notice the legs are of a slightly kind of wider proportion on the bot, and that is because of all the stuff that it has to do. Overall, the quality on this figure is very good. I'm going to knock a point off, though, for these two unsightly sprue marks, because they're in a really prominent place, and the rest of the thing is so well finished and looks so good. It's just really unfortunate that that I've got that there. So final score and quality, 9 out of 10. So the transformation on this figure is absolutely brilliant. It's perfectly engineered. It's masterpiecey because look, you know, it goes from the bot to something looking like this. So the engineering is absolutely cracking, the design of it and what it does. It's so chunky and smooth and easy and intuitive. You could do it without the instructions if you want. I wouldn't recommend it because, you know, you've just got a couple of things you need to know about, like these little buttons to activate the kind of sliding mechanisms. But just brilliant, absolutely perfect. I can't find a single flaw with the transformation. 10 out of 10. So in terms of alt mode, if we do the features first, it does roll. It's got wheels, but it's more of a skid than a roll like a champ kind of effect. It's got a turret which moves up and down and will swivel 360 on a ratchet. The machine gun will swivel and it will also maneuver up and down as well, which is a nice touch. You've got hatches, both of which open. So quite a lot of little features across the alt mode that make it quite cool. You've got lots of sculpted detail everywhere and also painted effects on the back. These are done really nicely, really well painted. Nice little touches like the mirrors painted and these bits on the top here. These are rubber actually, as are the black pieces on the side, and obviously we've mentioned these previously. So it'll be interesting to see how those hold up over time. If we bring in the G1 Toon, you can see it's not particularly accurate, so I think that's fair to say that that's not good. However, it is a good alt mode nonetheless. I think the colours off, we've mentioned that previously. It's probably more in keeping with the G1 toy, the kind of overall look of the tank than the G1 Toon. So that's kind of interesting. Overall, it's very good. I would say this is kind of like it breaks the suspension of disbelief, some of these panelly bits down here. So they've gone for, you know, a more chunky engineering and design rather than kind of making everything look perfect in alt mode. So kind of critical points there, but overall this is very good. 8 out of 10. So there we have it. Adding it all together, he gets a final score of 8.5 out of 10. And this is a brilliant figure. He's got a great looking bot mode, great looking alt mode, a really fantastically well designed and fun transformation, really top notch, and it's very posable. It ticks all of the boxes. Now, in terms of aesthetic, I think some might be kind of on the fence because this isn't a kind of painted statuesque looking figure, but what you can't argue with is the quality of the finish because it is absolutely there. It looks great. It's got a very G1 Toon aesthetic, and for me, I just think it looks like a brilliant piece. On a personal note, Brawl was the first ever Transformer that I bought with little 2p's and 5p's that I'd saved up, little bits of money that I'd scrabbled together, and I remember buying this for about £2.99 or something like that in 1987. So I can't quite believe I'm doing a review of a masterpiece Brawl all these years later. So MMC have done a cracking job on this, and I think they've done a cracking job overall on the set, and I can't wait to do a review of the combined figure. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Definite recommend from me, even if you just want a standalone Brawl or just see what one of these is like. Get this figure. I think it's brilliant. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching. Take care. Please subscribe, and bye for now.